Hi, Angela. Welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you here today.
I'm excited to be here.
I know a lot of people have questions about AAC and especially non-speech language pathologists. Like, how can I support kids in the classroom? And will you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your background with AAC?
Oh, I've been doing this for over 35 years, so a long, long time. Way before iPads, way before, but we didn't really have very many options back in the day. We were excited to have just a mid-tech device was kind of fancy back then. So I've been
I
doing a
remember
long
that too.
pediatrics, but from birth to 21. My first half of my clinical career was in early intervention, so going out to families' homes and all that EI entails. And then the second half, I worked in a pediatric rehab hospital run by the state and saw inpatients, outpatients, teletherapy, went out and did a school contract. So kind of saw and did it all from birth to 21 years of age. So and
Wow.
then as far as adult AAC, I've had an interest in keeping up and knowing what's available at least because of my own parents and what needs they might have needed. And then also any speech path probably thinks forward about, well, if I ever need AAC, what?
Right?
So
Awesome.
love tech and love the iPad. The generation of the iPad really opened up AAC. It kind of took down the barriers. I mean, there still is gatekeeping, unfortunately, in the AAC world that you have to do whatever before you earn your way in to getting to try something. But parents, a lot of parents can afford to go buy an iPad, an Android tablet, an Amazon Fire tablet, put an AAC app on it, either something that's free on up to something that's robust, and no longer have to wait for the blessing of a professional to say, you now can enter. The world's getting to communicate.
It's such a good description because I've been an SLP for 26 years, and you are right. Even 26 years ago, barely anything. And what
Mhm.
there was extremely expensive.
Yeah.
And
And
now,
very heavy, mainly intended to
very
be
heavy.
mounted on a wheelchair, not
Yeah.
so much for kids that could walk.
Yeah. And a 3 and 4 year old definitely was not going to be approved for one of those.
Well, actually, way back in 1990, let me think, two-ish, 92, 93, somewhere in that time frame, was in early intervention, working with a family. The child was close to 3, but not quite 3. And I just knew that she had CP and just knew. And
Yeah.
so we got a Dynavox 2C, did a trial. She did well enough that no child in our state under the age of 4 at that point had ever been approved for AAC being purchased as durable medical equipment. That just, no, not before. So this child wasn't even 3 yet. And I was like, you know what? Someone's got to be the first.
Awesome. Go,
And
Angela.
so, yeah, we got her done. And my rep back then had to come out. Thankfully, just here recently, they finally, here in 2024, did away with this requirement. But from for forever up to here recently in 2024, here in Oklahoma, you had to provide a video proof that the individual had at least some basic core abilities or intent at least. So she came with this huge Betamax camera on her shoulder, like the news crew style, like, because
Yes.
that's what it was back then. You didn't have iPhones with a camera, you could just record.
No,
And so, yeah, we had to submit a video. And anyway, she was the first child. So, yeah,
that's amazing. Well
but
done. And
the
ahead of your
era
time.
of the iPad greatly leveled the playing field of not that being so limited. And it also has spurred on lots of innovation. I see lots and lots of AAC apps that update at least once a month with new features or fixing bugs. And it used to take years and years between any meaningful things that were new.
Yeah.
So that's exciting too. Like it spurred on a lot more creative uses and options instead of it just being buttons on a grid. A
Yeah.
lot, a lot more flexibility.
What I love about what you offer, Angela, is like on your Facebook page and on your website, you talk about all the different types of apps that are out there, or if
Mm-hmm.
there's a big update to one, or there's a sale on a certain app or
Mm-hmm.
apps for upcoming AAC Awareness Month. You put all that information out there to help families and providers, and which
Mm-hmm.
ultimately helps kids. So thank you for all that research you do and keeping things up to date so everyone can look to you instead of having to do that search on their own.
Yes, I enjoy doing that.
Awesome.
It also was the bright lining of the pandemic. The pandemic, I had a lot of time and nowhere to go, as did the whole world. And so rather than focus on all the scary stuff that was going on in that era, I dove in and spent who knows how many hours every day, countless,
Yes.
diving into looking at features way hidden deep that I mean, I had used these apps extensively and didn't even know that they could do some of the things
Mm.
that they could do. So that's where my first feature matching resource came from was you can thank the pandemic and what else does a techie SLP do with time and stuck at
Yeah.
home?
Yeah.
She
This is great.
develops feature matching resources.
Well, that's why I was like, I need to have Angela on the show. And we have to have this also on YouTube so that just listening, you're not going to be able to see what she's doing
Uh-huh.
and showing us. And so this is kind of a two-part. Like if you're catching it on the podcast, you have to click the link and go watch on YouTube because you're going to see Angela walk us through some things. And one of the biggest things I wanted to talk to you about, Angela, is the idea of split screen. So
Uh-huh.
whether it's you're going to show us on an iPad, but it might be a book and a device or a grid, AAC of some
Uh-huh.
type, so that you can reference that while you're doing reading. Or we'll talk about on an interactive whiteboard having a split screen with either a core board or the grid of a device next to the YouTube song where you can model,
Uh-huh.
model, model, model. So, should we jump in and do that?
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. So she's going to share her screen. So this is where you guys bear with us if you're listening on the podcast. You can
Sure.
hear her walk us through everything, but then you can go over and watch it on YouTube.
Share content, share screen, start broadcast. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Oh, it's coming. Yes.
Okay. All right. So
There we are.
first and foremost, there we are. Um, I want to show folks where to find, and it depends on what iOS you're on your iPad. At one point, many versions ago, you had to go in and turn this on. And then in more recent years, it was just an automatic thing and you couldn't turn it off. And now with iOS 18, it's back to where you choose whether it's on or off. So you go into the settings and you go to multitasking and gestures. And see over here, I have split view and slide over is checked that I want that on. So if you're not seeing the three little dots at the top that I'll show you in a second, then that's what you need to check. You need to turn on split view. And that's where you find that. If you're in an iOS that's before 18, then you won't see this option to have to choose. So that's first. And then how you know, I'm going to go into Proloquo to go. Okay, up here, see at the very top of the screen where you see three dots, the top middle of the screen, that's your clue. If you see those three times, and sometimes they're almost hidden in the background. App developers, I guess, maybe have a way to do that. But if you see, and then when you tap on it, that's what you get. And then this will let me go into split view. And then what you do is you go over and choose what you want beside it. So for example, I can go into Kindle, my Kindle app, and let me go in here and show all of that. And you can drag this, which that has a lot of buttons on the left. That's a pretty large grid size. And so I might drag it to be able to see more of that. And so this is just a book over here on my Kindle app. And I prefer to purchase the Kindle version of books versus Apple Books version, because then I can use it in the Kindle app on my Android tablet and on my Windows tablet. I can use it other places, whereas if you purchase the book just in Apple Books, that's the only place you can use it.
Oh, that's a great
So,
tip.
so yeah, so I've had several users where giving them this side-by-side look, and this book is called More Than Words, So Many Ways to Say What We Mean by Roz McLean.
Mm.
And it's one of my favorites because of the diversity, not only of the children in the book, but how many different ways that they communicate and how all of those are honored. Not anyone is valued more than another. And so if we were talking about something in the book, so let me get over to a page. And you can see someone saying, hey, or mine. Let's go into people. And want. And that. And if you're here in Proloquo Go, most apps, in order to copy and paste this, if you were going to put it over into like an art, I'll show a different app here in a second.
Okay.
You go here and copy. Most other apps, this upward facing arrow up here would bring up that copy, but for some reason in Proloquo Go, you don't find it there. It's down in the tools pop-up is what that's called.
Okay.
So I've had lots of kids be able to comment about something in the book. Just gives more of a reason. For some kids, I noticed that they weren't necessarily very highly into using their AC because they hadn't really connected it with, oh, this, I can use this like to comment about a story, or I can use this. Okay, so I'm going to close.
Yeah, I love that idea of the device. We want it to be their language, their communication. And so it's not just requesting, communicating
Exactly.
so much more than
Exactly. Okay, so here is Proloquo, not to be confused with Proloquo to Go. Totally
Oh,
different apps, both by Assistiveware. And a lot of SLPs in particular, but a lot of folks nicknamed Proloquo to Go Proloquo back in the day.
okay.
Still tend to call it that, so there's sometimes confusion. So this is their newer app, much newer app. You still see the same 3 dots up at the top. And so I'm going to tap there, split view. And this time I'm going to go over into freeform, one of my favorite free apps from Apple. And you can see here that I've already created some things. I have, and it's like a giant whiteboard.
Oh,
Multimedia whiteboard, free from Apple. You can put all kinds of stuff in here, and it syncs and is automatically saved out in your iCloud. And then you can access it from any other device that you log in
wow.
that app on it. So you can see where I've added a picture of my dog. On Weave Chat, I was able to send over not just the text, but the buttons with the symbols.
Oh,
You can even do recorded,
I love going to the park.
so you
oh,
can add that. So if I wanted to add something, I'm going to shrink that down just a tad. Go over here to Proloquo, and maybe I want to say go.
Go.
And we're going to go to places. Let's see. Places.
Park.
Okay, now you see the upward facing arrow there in the message
yep.
window. And I'm going to copy, slide back over so I have more room. And then I'm going to tap, shrink down to where I can have some space here. See how it's called freeform for a reason. You just freeform it.
That's really cool.
Okay, so I tap and then paste. And so you can see I can make it bigger.
Yeah.
And over here on the AAC part of it, I could be talking about, I want to move it bigger. So you
Yeah.
can describe what you're doing over here on freeform. And again, it gives you a reason, a fun reason, and to be able to save some of your thoughts and ideas in a more permanent way that they don't really get stored in the AAC. So you have this whole
Yeah.
board here. And I have one over here where I did that with a Gestalt language processor. And I've saved a video clip.
Oh,
And that ta-da for them was their way of saying, look at what I've done, or I need some attention. Ta-da! So we added that. And then around here, we have good, cool, like it, look at me. And all of those we created in the AAC and then copied and then pasted them over into freeform.
This is such a cool idea because I can see like freeform. You could even have one for each of your clients, student,
Yes.
child,
Yeah. And
and really, yeah, really make it their favorite things, the things that they're passionate about, like
yes.
you did with this video. And then you could just keep adding to it because you can just keep moving over, right?
Oh, yeah,
Endlessly.
it's huge. Look at this.
Yeah.
Like it's the world's largest whiteboard.
Yeah. This is
And
so
it
cool.
saves, and I think you can even share it, like if you wanted to create something and send it and share it with someone else.
Mhm.
And I was reading in iOS 18, I haven't played around with it yet, but I think there's even a way to like create maybe books or folders of these to have a better way to organize them. But
Very
right
cool.
now, I just have two different boards. One's Gracie at the park, and one's Gestalt video.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And
again,
even
you can see because it has the three dots up at the top, both of these apps fully support split view. And very cool way for AAC users to be able to kind of put some permanency, give them a reason to maybe want to explore more uses and more language on their AAC app because they have oh wow, I can make this over in this other place in freeform.
and it allows you to really curate it to like I said, that child's passions, the things they're really enthusiastic about or special interests. And I know if you use that, their interests, you'll have them. Boom. The minute
Oh
you
yeah.
open that
Oh,
freeform board,
most
they're
definitely.
there
I
with you.
had tons of kids that were totally into everything related to Toy Story or everything
Yeah.
related to the original Cars movie or How to Train Your Dragon or
Yeah. What a great way to build a connection too.
right. And to see that it's valuable enough that it's getting saved. Like
Yeah.
that was kind of a key point for a couple of the kids. It was like, oh, we can come back to this. We can add to it. I could change my mind if that's not what I want in there. We could delete that part later.
Yeah.
And then if you're in there and you decide, oh, I want to do a different app now, you can close. You tap again up at the three dots and then tap on close and then tap on the three dots again and go pick something different
Nice.
to slide over. You can even open up two AAC apps side by side. And so maybe you want to compare and contrast which one do you think you might want to use.
Yeah.
This one on the right is Weave Chat. And so if I want to say in Weave Chat,
I go to the
let's see.
park.
All right, so then that one, see up at the top, that arrow,
Oh, yeah.
you have the option to share as image or share as text. So I'm going to choose share as image in Weave Chat. And you could save that to your camera roll, or you can copy. And then I'm going to close out of Weave Chat. And I'm going to go back and pull back open this. And I'm going to do a press and paste. And look, as simple as that, I brought in, make it bigger. Isn't that cool?
That's so cool.
So you can copy and paste the image straight over into freeform versus having to go through the steps of saving it to your camera roll and all of that. So again, just that extra spark, that it often gives kids, like, oh, wow, that's out of my AAC app and now it's saved over here. And
Yeah, really it makes it meaningful.
mm-hmm.
I think so for any listeners, whether you're listening on the podcast and then you go to YouTube, or if you found this on YouTube, if you use this, what did you call it again? Free style or free form?
Freeform.
Freeform. If you use freeform and start doing this with a split screen, send us a screenshot or picture of what you're doing with it, because I think so many of you are going to have awesome ideas and we can kind of share that with other people, which is a super fun way to not reinvent the wheel.
And Google has something kind of similar called Google Keep, where I've added photos and then you can just add text fields. And I explored this because this particular app works also on an iPhone and also on an Apple Watch. And so it was a free way that, like, I deleted my personal information, but when I was playing around with it, had my husband's phone number, my address, a picture of my mom, picture of my dog, some key phrases I might want to say, and just was playing around with that. It was like, oh, here's a it didn't have speech output.
Right.
But it was a really handy thing that you could use on the watch, that if you needed to communicate something and wasn't able to verbally say that in the moment, you could do that. So I wanted to point out Google Keep is over here on the right-hand side of the screen. It's not as freeformish as Freeform.
Yeah.
But still a really cool option where you could copy and paste things into there.
Yeah, I can, especially for some of like what you have there, kind of safety information.
Right.
If someone could see it, and if you can't say it, communicating it that way.
Not every AAC app supports split view.
Okay.
The robust ones that are symbol based are Proloquo, Proloquo to Go, Touch Chat with Word Power, Weave Chat, and Lampwords for Life.
Okay, that's
and
good.
Then there's a few text-based ones that do, but I haven't had as much need to do. By the time users are interested in using text-based, often that's motivation enough, and they could even just be typing directly into another app. But for the individuals using symbol-based AAC, another thing that I've had kids do that's really cool is, have you ever had anyone use Google Maps as a means of communication?
No, but I know a lot of kids over the years that like geography is their jam.
Well, yeah. And it took me quite a while to realize what these kids were doing,
Yeah.
but they would hone in on the map in a particular area, and maybe it was like a city park or something, and then that's what they were trying to communicate, is that they wanted to go to the park,
Wow.
and they had memorized like on the Google Maps where it was, and so they could get in here and zoom in and all of that. And so it's kind of hidden on Google Maps. You don't readily see those three dots, but they are there. See?
Oh, yeah.
And so to help bridge that to additional ways, not instead of, because we always want to honor whatever way that that individual's communicating. Google Maps, if that works for you, that's awesome. Now we need to make sure everyone else in that child's world knows, oh, when they're not just playing on Google Maps, they're actually trying to communicate. And I had another kid that would knew the address to their favorite ice cream shop, and so they would pull it up on Google Maps as the way to communicate that that's what they wanted to do.
That's incredible.
And so then same kind of thing, pull up your AAC, and while they're honed in over here on the Google Maps, you could be modeling without expectation, but you could be modeling on some AAC. Oh, park, fun, go. Again, to bridge that interest.
Yeah, and like you said, make it understandable to others that might not know yet. Oh, they're using Google Maps to actually communicate what they want.
Yeah, so Google Maps, interestingly, Apple Maps doesn't support that. So
Okay.
Google Maps does.
That is so cool, Angela.
Yeah, so those are the main AAC apps that support that. Kindle supports it. Unfortunately, let me pull open and see if I have like a kids game type apps on here.
Does it support, can you do that split view on there with YouTube?
I don't think so.
Okay. We'll show you
Oh,
another way.
you can on
Oh.
YouTube, but not YouTube Kids.
Gotcha.
YouTube Kids is ratcheted down. Yes. Okay. You see the three dots up at the top. So yes, you can.
Okay, this excites me.
But you can only, another thing folks need to realize is, which this should seem obvious, but it's not, you can't use split view if you're in guided access, because guided access locks you down into one app.
Okay.
So I don't want folks to be frustrated. This isn't working. Well, guided access locks you into one app.
Okay.
So yes, you could.
Like the super simple songs are so popular with children.
So I probably would make a playlist to make it a little bit more user-friendly.
Yeah.
So yes, you could pull up one of the super simple songs playlist.
5 little monkey ears.
And then split view, and then I'm going to go over to maybe Weave Chat. And so yes, you can, as long as you're not in guided access.
Yeah. And as long as you're not on YouTube Kids.
Yes,
and you can do it.
YouTube
but this is beautiful.
Does not have, unfortunately, but I understand. Like they take security very seriously.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's no three dots at the top.
Okay.
But in YouTube Kids, I've created my own playlists with super simple songs and PBS Kids, and now what you can do, you want to get really fancy, is you can, on iOS 17 and higher, I believe, You can go into accessibility, and this would only be a good idea if the AAC user isn't going to be distressed by their AAC app looking different, and they don't have vision and fine motor needs that it being shrunk down a bit, it would cause problems. But
Okay.
so given those caveats, you could use something called assistive access. And I already have Proloquo, Speech Assistant AAC, and Freeform in there, but you can go down and manage apps. You can add all kinds of things in here. And what this does is this creates a secured area where you can have multiple things. So not just like guided access is just one. This can have whatever you put in there. It can have that.
Nice.
And so then, well, I better not really start it. I think it'll, if I do, it'll cut me off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sharing. But envision, okay, see where it says grids and rows? Envision it then having very large buttons on the screen. And like one would be your AAC app and one would be YouTube Kids and whatever, the camera, whatever else you want in there. And then you can go to town. You can't have them side by side then, but you can toggle back and forth between them in a secure, safe way.
Okay.
Now, I would do that with YouTube Kids as long as I had the proper parental things set in there. I still would use caution about regular YouTube because just because it's in there, if you're out in YouTube, you still maybe could get connected with nefarious people.
Right. Right. So if you're doing maybe regular YouTube and you don't have guided access on, just being together with an adult is going to be the best thing, probably.
Probably. I mean, yeah, you need to use I had one client in particular who was a teenager, and thankfully it didn't go, it came very close to her ending up in a situation where she probably would have been abducted.
Oh, wow.
She had connected with someone on YouTube who wasn't what they were portraying themselves to be. And thankfully, the situation was found out in the nick of time. She ended up being placed in protective custody in our facility until the parents were able to receive some training on, better supervision and all of that. That was the point at which I was like, oh, I take digital safety very, very, very seriously. Yeah. Very seriously.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, but yes, regular YouTube you can use in split view. Most apps designed for children don't allow split view, but you can do something called slide over. Let me show that to you really quick.
Okay.
Let's go back into Proloquo and let me close out of Google Maps. Okay, so the key is one of the apps does have to fully support split view, okay? But say you wanted to open YouTube Kids. So I have that one, and I have YouTube Kids already down here, recently opened. See how it's down on this bar down at the bottom?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide up from the bottom, long press. Whoops. Try that again. It's a little tricky. Let's see if I can get it to do that time. There we go.
Oh.
Okay, so I have YouTube Kids in the background, and Proloquo is slid over. So not ideal. There's other AAC apps that scale better for that. Let me see what, let's see, let's try Weave Chat instead. I'll get out of that.
I'm excited for everybody to watch this, try it, and let us know.
Okay, so there's Weave Chat. So see how that's a lot better.
Much better.
So you do have kind of a way, and you can move this around if you, oops, it's tricky though.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very tricky. You can, if you get just the right spot, you can tap and hold and drag on those 3 dots.
Okay.
But that's probably something that an adult is going to need help with. I don't think I have worked with any young children that would have been frustrating.
Yeah, yeah, very. But a really neat option. So today we talked mostly about split view and then a little bit about the slide view. And I have a question for you. We talked about this a little bit before we hit record, but I experimented a little bit a few years ago in the classroom with a lot of us in schools have the big interactive whiteboards or
And
and
stop sharing my screen now.
sure. And then I'll pull mine up.
All right, let me go back over to Zoom.
Oh, I think I maybe got it here. Okay.
There we go.
Here we go. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it. If you're listening on the podcast for right now, on the left side of the screen, and this is just a screenshot of it, so I'm not going to be able to interact with it right now, right here, but this is what I had on the big interactive whiteboard. On the left side of my screen is the super simple songs, Hickory Dickory Dock. On the right side is a core board that has a lot of hidden symbols and kind of, I don't know, maybe 12 or 15 showing. And so while that song played, the Hickory Dickory Dock, the mouse went up the clock, I could then, have like either my finger or some kind of tool. Usually if I had a pointer, that would become the focus of the classroom. And, I was like 3 and 4-year-olds, so they'd run up and want to fight me for the pointer, fight each other for the pointer. So I had better luck just pointing with my hand, but I could point out like on, more, up, down, and just really modeling that language without expectation. And this was just such a simple, once you figure it out, but really neat way. I have a Mac, and so I do have a video recording I can share in the show notes and in the comment or below on YouTube. What do you call it? Below, the comments, wherever I can put a link to the other video showing how I set this up. But I'm by no means an expert. Angela would probably on any format, whether it's a Mac or PC, be able to walk you through doing something like this.
Actually, I don't own a Mac. I'm saving up for one.
Okay, so maybe I'm the Mac person
But
for
you
this
can
one specific thing. And you
can on a Windows device, Windows laptop, Windows tablet, you would just open up 2 different windows and resize them to kind of got it how you wanted it.
Yeah.
And if someone's using an Android tablet, I didn't bring my Android tablet, my Amazon Fire tablet with me today, but there's something similar you can do on those. They're just not quite as quick and easy as it is on an iPad in split view.
Okay, that makes sense.
Although Android users, if you have a Samsung tablet, Samsung Kids is your friend.
Ooh.
Apple needs to pay attention because I keep on hoping that they'll make assistive access a little bit more user friendly, because I didn't get to show it, but it has a huge back button that takes up a lot of the screen and it squunches everything else up to the top. Whereas Samsung Kids is a secured area where you can add AAC apps, you can add anything, YouTube Kids, anything. And you can't leave that security area unless you have the passcode. And you can go back and forth between things in there. So you wouldn't be looking at them side by side, but it's a secured area. So yeah, anyone who uses Samsung needs to look to see if they have Samsung Kids as a really cool, better than guided access.
Yeah. Oh, that's really a really great tip. So, I think kind of wrapping up talking about split screen,
Mhm.
there's so many options. You know, you talked about using a split screen on a device to read books, to
Mhm.
do the free form, you know, where you can do drawing or bring in different images or videos. Um, the split screen on the interactive whiteboard. Like there's lots of
Mhm.
options, especially for educators and parents who are like, I'm not an SLP. Or if you're an SLP and you're like, AAC is not my area of expertise. Like there's small things you can do like this to kind of, I think, immerse kids into
Mhm.
different ways to communicate, modeling AAC in different ways and feel like, okay, I can do this.
Yes. And make it fun. Like
Yes.
AC should be fun.
Yeah, and I think, you know, one of the things people tend to give up on is, let's say a child starts with a new AAC device or even a core board if you don't have a device. And I hear this especially though with devices. Oh, they're just pushing that one button over and over, or they're just going in and pushing any button. And I've heard it lately equated more to like a child that's babbling and learning language. Do you have any thoughts on that, Angela?
It can be that. It also can be kids learning where everything is.
Yeah.
It's not just me that's experienced this. I've seen lots and lots of SLPs who do lots of AAC talk about this as well. Like, just let, to the best of your ability, let them have at it. And yes, I know in a classroom you can't have 15 different AAC apps at full volume babbling away.
Right.
They have to offer the opportunity for them to wear headphones or teach them to turn down the volume or give them, set times to do that, but when given the opportunity to freely explore AAC, I've had kids who appeared to just, oh, they're just randomly stimming, or that's not purposeful, they shouldn't have gotten that.
Yeah.
Well, you just give enough time. I've had more than one client go from appearing to not having any purposeful use to, okay, got this thing mastered. Now I'm going to tell you like a whole utterance. And
You
would
know,
that
it
have been how I typically would have thought language would have developed? No. But
no.
when given the opportunity and access, my big thing is access without any barriers, without having to prove that you're worthy. Everyone at least deserves the opportunity to try out robust AAC. Because
I
how else are you
agree.
going to ever be able to show that you're capable if you're never given the opportunity to have enough time to explore something like that?
Yeah.
But
And
yeah,
it
I've experienced that on more than multiple occasions where all of us were just like, you know what? We're going to stick it out and let them freely explore. And these were kids that they wanted to know everything that was in there, like what all the options were, all the words. I want to know where everything is before I start using it.
mhm. And it's presuming competence.
Yes.
Like you said, there shouldn't be like, oh, you have to do this, this, and this before you can try it. You know, no
Well,
prerequisite.
because again, the facility where I worked up to age 21, sadly, I had numerous outpatients and inpatients come for AAC evals where they had never had any opportunity for really anything, maybe like a handful of symbols in a book or something, or a couple of signs. Nothing. They really had nothing.
Yeah.
And they were like 18, 19, 20, almost 21. And I'm like, how is this possible? Well, because they never could prove that they got past phase whatever and pass was
Oh,
often like, no, no,
yeah.
this cannot, this cannot be.
I think
I
there's a
had,
lot of adults,
I had
autistic
one young
adults now
man,
that could use an AAC device, and they'd
yeah,
probably
I had one young man who was literally less than 6 months from age 21, which in Oklahoma, that's that cliff at which Medicaid would have no longer paid for him to come to our facility, wouldn't have paid for an AAC device. So we had a very short window of time. He'd never had anything other than maybe like 2 or 3 PEC symbols or something, and nothing had ever happened for him. And he came, and so and usually you shouldn't do this, give a caveat, but he came for an outpatient evaluation, and we had one session to get it done in. And so I got enough information ahead of time to have an idea, did feature matching based on what the parents told me about him, and had kind of a rough idea, brought like 2 or 3 different things in, and pretty quickly was able to figure out that a Nova chat with word power was going to be the best match for him. And lo and behold, we very quickly, thankfully, were able to get that in place for him and get him and his family trained. But I'll never forget the first session of him learning about his device and me teaching the parents. And I had turned away to jot a note down. He said, "Oh, and make sure I get this in my progress notes." And I hear the device saying, "I love you."
oh,
And he did that and looked at his mom.
oh,
It was, of course, happy tears for all, but I also had equal parts of anger. Like, she had to wait almost 21 years to have the opportunity to hear her son, and it was very purposeful. He sequenced those in the very first session of getting his device.
mm, wow.
There should have not been any barriers to him
No,
getting the opportunity.
yeah.
But doing that and turning towards his mom, just like, we can't have, we're still here in 2024, and I still see way too many
And
instances
it's still,
of gatekeeping.
yeah, it's still very common that um, SLPs, I'm an SLP, you're an SLP. It's
Mm-hmm.
very common that it said, well, he needs to, master this many levels in PECs or
And I
what,
don't know why that's
or
still
they're too
integrated,
young.
because
Yeah,
Ashley even has information on the portal regarding the AAC practice portal, clearly states that there are no prerequisites.
good, good.
So,
This
but
happened to
I
me,
don't.
Angela, just a few years ago. I had a student, I had him for a couple years, and I was working with his mom before he went to kindergarten to um, get a robust device. And it was through a company that would, make sure they had insurance coverage and all that. And we got it done. And when he went to kindergarten, the SLP at the kindergarten level in the district I worked at called me and said, "Why did you help them get this device? It's not appropriate for him. He doesn't understand it and blah blah blah." That list of outdated reasons. And I was shocked. I'm like, "Whoa." Like I don't even have words for it. Just whoa. Check yourself. You know what I mean? And within months, well, he started out with like the babbling or the exploring, checking
Yeah.
everything out. Then one day on the way home from therapy, he's in the back seat in his car seat. He's 5. His mom said for the very first time, he took the device out of his backpack in the back seat. Usually at that point, it was like they would bring it to him, like, "Is
Right.
there anything you want?" And sometimes he'd, push a button to let him know what he wanted. But he initiated it, pulled it out of his backpack, and he was pressing this button. And she said it kept saying, "Bowling alley, bowling alley, bowling alley." And she's like, buddy, we've never been to a bowling alley. Like, what are you talking about? So she was like confused, but he just was persistent. So when they got home, she got out and ran back there to see, like, what in the heck? She looks, it was mislabeled. It was a picture of McDonald's.
Oh,
Now, talk about purposeful. She's like,
so he knew the golden arches, but someone had mislabeled the button as bowling alley.
yeah, or maybe it was bowling alley and they put the arches on and forgot or
Oh,
save or whatever it was.
funny.
So she's thinking he's asking for bowling alley. She sees that it's McDonald's and she's like, no wonder he was persistent. She's like, buckle up. We're going to McDonald's right now. And
Uh-huh.
that was kind of the start of all of his
Well,
really intentional communication.
and if individuals don't have the opportunity, how will they ever? I mean, that's one of those vicious cycles. That's how you end up having, like me in the facility where it went up to age 21. That's how you end up getting these ridiculous amount of inpatients and outpatients coming in who had never had the opportunity, who clearly just took off. And not everyone's just going to take off.
Correct.
But I had numerous who did, who it was like they needlessly waited. Like there are no prerequisites. I don't know how many other ways to say it, but there really are none. There should be none. And thankfully, Weave Chat, folks need to know about the free Weave Chat AAC app. Your followers must know that it's robust, it's free, it's only in English right now, but other languages are very quickly going to be coming out. And you can put it on any iOS device, iPhone, iPad, Android phone, Android tablet, Amazon Fire.
Wow. Wow. So the barrier to entry for that is
very low entry.
Very little.
Now it relies on system voices, and so you're not going to have the same voices necessarily that you may hear in other AAC apps. If you want a high quality child voice, your best option is to go over to an Android device and purchase an acapella child's voice through the acapella TTS app on the Google Play Store. And then for $7.99, you can have a really high quality Josh, Ella, Valeria, Haldria, all the teen voices, child voices, adult voices that you'd ever want, pretty much.
Wow.
And you can use those in Weave Chat.
That's awesome. Oh,
so
you can
yes.
in Weave Chat.
In Weave Chat, yeah, because it relies on system voices. So once you purchase that voice and set the acapella TTS as your speech engine, then yes, then they'll show up in Weave Chat and you choose that voice.
Do you have a tutorial on how to do that?
I have
information?
a blog post, I think.
Okay.
I'll have to look and send you the link.
Yeah, try to track that down and I can
Yeah.
put that in the notes below. I think this is like the perfect spot to wrap up because, you know, we talked about the importance of having no prerequisites. We gave ideas for like the split screen use. And now we have this little teaser of the different voices, but you'll need to go check Angela out. We'll put that blog post in the show notes. And then October is AAC Awareness Month. And
yes, it is.
I want everybody who is interested in doing better with AAC to go to your Facebook page, like it. Where else can they find you, Angela?
Oh my goodness, I'm on pretty much almost every. I don't do TikTok. I'm too old for TikTok. I'm not on TikTok. But Facebook, Instagram, X, formerly known as Twitter, Threads. I have a YouTube channel.
Awesome. Awesome. So they're going to find a lot of material there. Do you have any other ways people can work with you? Do you have any courses or anything, or is it mainly just on social media?
Well, right now I'm not really in a point because of family obligations to do like live trainings for anyone or anything like that.
Yeah.
I do have several like short pre-recorded webinars that I have out on my Teachers Pay Teacher store.
Okay.
I have lots and lots and lots and lots of tutorial type stuff out on my YouTube channel. If you message me on my Amazing Kids AAC Consulting Facebook page, I reply, and I can't do extensive consultation, but if often answer kind of short questions, especially open to helping parents who don't have help from anyone else. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you, Angela, for not only for being here and talking to us and showing us these awesome techniques, but for everything that you do. You're amazing.
oh, thank you.
All right. I hope that maybe we can talk to Angela again in the future because she is full of so much AAC knowledge. But be sure to go over and check her out on all the places, all the links in the show notes.